Hi everybody, this is Dr. Chris Dost. Welcome back to my series on the textual analysis of the Hebrew Bible. Before we get started today, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell below to be notified when I publish future videos in this series, and please be sure to share this video on social media and to leave a comment below. All right, let's get started. After I posted my first video on Genesis 1, verses 1 through 2, I received a number of comments and questions, and so I wanted to use this opportunity to address some of the questions that have been posed. So the first one I want to address is, in light of the fact that Genesis 1 ends with a sof pasuk, shouldn't verse 1 end with a period? And the answer to that question is no. The sof pasuk in Hebrew does not serve the same function as a period. Now, it generally happens that where the Masoretes end a Hebrew verse is a place of major syntactic division, and oftentimes it requires a period in translation. So in that respect, it is understandable why English translators have punctuated the end of verse 1 with a period. Now, you don't have to look far to find exceptions to this rule. In the ESV, anyway, verse 14 ends with a comma. Now, I will admit that they could have just as easily punctuated with a period there, so that is not the greatest example. But still, it's the first example that occurs in the ESV. When we come to verse 17, however, there is no doubt that one should not punctuate the end of the verse with a period. It has to be a comma. In the ESV, it says, "And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night." Verse 18 does not begin an independent clause. In fact, interestingly enough, it begins with a vav, just like Genesis 1:2. Now, the division between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2 isn't the only portion of this creation story where the versification is disputed. It is widely recognized that Genesis 2:4 should end with a period after the words "when they were created," period. And the second creation story should begin with the words "in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, comma." And this is something that the New Revised Standard Version gets right. In fact, not only should verse 4 not end with a period, but verse 5 shouldn't end with a period either, as we can see in the NRSV. And as you scroll through the text, verse 6 follows a semicolon, verse 12 follows a semicolon, verse 17 follows a semicolon. So this in and of itself is sufficient evidence to show that one should not automatically insert a period just because there is a sof pasuk in the text. The Masoretes occasionally get the verse division wrong, and other times the end of a verse is simply not the end of a sentence. And so of the modern Protestant Bibles, the NRSV yields the best translation of Genesis 1:1 through 1:2. "In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth, comma, the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters." Now, with regard to the example I gave last time, that a vav plus noun plus suffix conjugation verb can mean "while something was the case," indicating past action, I simply refer you to Muraoka's grammar, section 166. Section 166 deals with temporal clauses. While I don't want to use this opportunity to go into a detailed study of Muraoka's grammar, I would simply like to point out that if you scroll down to 166c and following, he gives plenty of examples where the verb is preceded by a vav plus a noun or pronoun in order to indicate simultaneity and anteriority. And in this section, you will find plenty of examples that support my reading of Genesis 1:2 as being a subordinate clause and not an independent clause. In other words, it is a continuation of verse 1, not a new sentence. Another one of the questions that was put to me is, how do the Targums translate the Hebrew word bereshit, which has commonly been translated in the beginning? Well, all one has to do is go to Targum Onkelos, and in the right column you'll see the Targum itself, and in the center is the Targum English translation, and bereshit is translated with bekadmin. Bekadmin does not mean in the beginning, it means in former times. So Targum Onkelos is at the very least evidence, and very ancient evidence at that at least some Jews understood Bereshit to mean something other than in the beginning in the way we think of it today. Now, this actually makes perfect sense when one reads Genesis 1 against the backdrop of other ancient Near Eastern creation stories. So works like Enuma Elish, the classic Babylonian creation story, and others are not interested in identifying when the beginning of time is. They're not astrophysicists. But what all ancient Near Eastern creation accounts have in common is an interest in what creation means and how it is supposed to function. And for the time being, I simply refer you to the work of John Walton. While a little bit heavy at times, his book, Ancient Near Eastern Thought and the Old Testament, Introducing the Conceptual World of the Hebrew Bible, is a must-read. Well, that does it for our Q&A session today. If you have any questions, please be sure to post them below. And I want to remind you, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell below to be notified when I publish future lessons, and please be sure to share these videos and promote them on social media. I really appreciate the support. I look forward to seeing you next time when we will continue our discussion of Genesis 1:1 and following.